The Sunfallen Road, Chapter 19. I haven't mentioned before what a hassle it is for vampires to travel. Since we can't abide the sun, we have to travel via cargo ships or even in the cargo of planes. Such things have to be carefully planned, and even then it's chancy. However, it should be duly noted that the old wives' tale about vampires needing to travel with soil from their native country is total nonsense, as is the adage that vampires have trouble crossing running water. I booked passage to France the old-fashioned way, on a ship. Ships these days are incredibly fast, but it still took me close to 3 weeks to reach French shores. During that time, I fed carefully, discreetly, never from the same person twice. Fortunately, the ship was so large that there were many humans on board, so I didn't go wanting. When I reached Strasbourg, I was tired for the first time in nigh a century. I looked for a safe house hotel and booked a room for the night. I laid down on the bed and closed my eyes, made my mind like that lake of pure blue, and I listened. "Good," said the female spirit. "From here you must travel through the forest and find a man." "What man?" I asked. "We cannot tell his name," she said, "but you will know him by not knowing. He is clouded by magic." I almost snickered mentally. Know by not knowing? What did that even mean? "But there are werewolves in the forests," I said. "They'll kill me if I set foot on their land." "We will protect you," she said. "Have faith. Silverwood." That stung just enough for me not to argue. "All right," I said, "but if they kill me, I will haunt you from my vampire's grave for all eternity." The spirit laughed, a ringing silver laugh that was one of the most beautiful sounds I'd ever heard. "It is good you still have humor, Melpomene, despite your fear," she said. "Rest tonight, then go tomorrow. We will be watching." I had traveled light. Silver had advised me to. I carried a smartphone and a charger, a few sets of clothes, my passport and wallet, and a photograph of the two of us in a backpack. All else I needed, I could buy or simply find. Strasbourg was not a large city. The spirits had somehow placed a map in my mind, a map upon which shining points indicated my path through the forest. Every so often, I would stop, close my eyes, and look at it. I must have looked utterly mad to the average passersby, but I couldn't have cared less. I was on a mission, and no human on earth could have stopped me. I came to the rural outskirts of the city, and I found a trail through the forest that lay beyond. I stepped onto it, looking up at the starry sky, an hour past sunset. I began to walk. My senses were on high alert. Forests were dangerous places for vampires. As I mentioned before, vampires and werewolves had no truck with one another for many reasons. I didn't understand all of them, but I knew that enough of one had killed plenty of the other, and I didn't want to test my limits. I walked for several hours, not hearing a sound, but after a time I began to hear padding through the brush, heavier than an animal, but lighter than a human. I didn't panic, I just kept walking. Until, not far behind me, a sudden and horrendous howl lit the night, and then I did panic. I used the speed gift and raced faster than I ever had before. And then something caught me. I had run straight into a tall and lean figure whose eyes glowed yellow as it stared at me, its teeth long and white, its body covered with shaggy, dun-colored fur as it held me fast, raising me up to examine me. How had it caught me? It almost didn't matter how. The beast stared at me, and I stared back as two more werewolves came loping up the path behind me. "What are you doing here?" growled the werewolf as he held me fast. I did not struggle. "I am on a quest," I answered, trying not to sound afraid. "And what might that be?" "I seek the road to Etienne-Gebert." The werewolf blinked. "Who sent you?" "Spirits of the dead have guided me here," I said. He put me down, and raising himself to his full height, which exceeded mine by at least a foot, he said, "You will come with me." I followed him, flanked by the 2 other werewolves, who glared at me, but fortunately decided that it wasn't the right moment to bite off any of my limbs. Vampires could heal fast, but we couldn't regrow limbs the way werewolves could. They led me to a camp in the forest where several more werewolves were also camped. A few were in human form, some in lupine form, some in wolf form. All of them looked up and stared. Some of them growled. But one of them did not. He was tall, like the others, but he had kind eyes. A necklace of wooden beads and stones hung about his neck. He got to his feet and came to stand before me. "What are you doing here, vampire?" he asked me in a voice that was surprisingly quiet and gentle. "I am seeking Etienne Gebert," I answered him, feeling a little stronger, and some of the werewolves laughed. The werewolf with the necklace silenced them with a wave of his hand, and he looked at me. "Let me see into you," he said. I understood what he was asking. Some werewolves had a gift called the heart gift, which allowed them to see into the hearts and souls of men and vampires. But for us, we had to allow them in. Our minds were clouded with our vampiric blood and obscured their sight. I nodded. I cleared my mind and opened my heart and made my thoughts like that lake for him to see into. "Such strength," he said, holding my face in his hands and looking into my eyes. "Strength of heart. You journey for one you love. Is he human?" "Yes," I whispered. "And you want to be human again. For him. More than anything." He released me. "Harm her not," he said to the other lupines. "She is pure of spirit. We must allow her to pass." There was some grumbling over this, but no one objected. The werewolf gestured for me to wait and went into one of the tents. He returned with a stone pendant on a leather thong. On it was carved an image of a wolf, and on its opposite side, a depiction of Mahu, the Benin goddess of the moon, creation, and fertility. As I later learned, the werewolves of the world were of a collective known as Mahu's Get. Blessed by their goddess, this bloodline had many diaspora across the world from their roots in the kingdom of Dahomey. I had not known this for much of my vampiric life, but it explained a great deal about the relationship, or lack thereof, between vampires and werewolves. "Show this to the other lupines you may meet," he said. "They will know not to harm you." He took my arm. "Come, there is someone who can help you."